What's going on YouTube? So a lot of times when a new generation product comes out, you can't even tell what's changed.
But that's certainly not the case with this all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. It's bigger, it's boxier, and more luxurious.
And we're excited to get hands-on with this exciting new product. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and check it out. So like always, let's kick off this review by quickly taking a look at what is under the hood. Now for 2024, we're actually going to lose a couple powertrain options versus 2023, and we now start off with the standard 2.5 turbocharged four-cylinder engine. Total power output is going to be 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque.
For the gas-powered models, you have an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. You continue to have a hybrid offered as well. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned, it's going to be coming in at 23 miles a gallon combined for this gas turbo.
Now, of course, we look forward to showing you the performance of this out on the road a little later on in this review. While we're doing that, we're going to get things like our signature sound level reading so that you can compare how quiet this all-new Santa Fe is to the competition at carconfections.com. But I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. You're going to want to see what this exterior design looks like. Now, when you first walk up to this new Santa Fe, there's a good chance you won't really know what this even is, especially on this model here with the blacked out badging. I'm going to say you're going to surprise more than a few people. They're going to have no idea what this actually is. That's because we have a radical new design, a very, very boxy shape, of course, and there's a lot of interesting things going on here in the front. First of all, you do have that signature grille finish. We have the XRT trim, so that's going to give us some blacked out elements out here in the front. Obviously, this is a black model, so everything kind of blends together in a stealthy kind of way. You will notice you have an H motif that's going to be throughout the vehicle. So right here we have the body color panel, which is going to run in this H pattern over here. And you see that also in the grille as well as the lighting. So take a look at our headlights here. As you can see, full LED headlights are going to be standard equipment. These are projector LEDs, so a nice premium look on that. H-shaped daytime running light and turn signal indicator. And then you even have this light bar that runs all the way across the front. And there are animations involved with this as well. The only thing you will notice is that there's not going to be fog lights on any model. Now that I'm down here, I also want to point out that the XRT is going to give you a little bit more ground clearance. This is 8.3 inches of ground clearance versus the standard 7 inches. Now, as bold as the front end design is, it's the rear where things start to really take an interesting turn.
Yeah, I mean, this is one wild looking design. It kind of mixes like a G-Wagon with Land Rover vibes for me, especially here in the back. Now, Drew's going to go ahead and hop inside, and I'm going to break down some of the individual elements that you're going to get in terms of this overall design. Now, we do have a hidden rear wiper up underneath of the spoiler. We do have fully blacked out badging back here because we have the XRT model. And let's take a look at our taillights. This is a pretty controversial element about this new Santa Fe, but we do have an LED H-shaped taillight for our brake light as well as turn signal indicator. Our reverse light is going to be integrated down in the lower bumper portion, and this is going to be incandescent, but I am happy that at least 2 out of the 3 elements are LED for this Santa Fe's taillight. Now, while I'm down here, I do want to point out we have an exposed exhaust outlet here on the right side. I wish they would have maybe made it dual exposed exhaust. And as far as your tow rating is concerned, it's coming in at 3,500 pounds for most gas models. If you choose this XRT trim level, though, it bumps it up to 4,500 pounds as the maximum.
Now, as you'd expect, there are some pretty interesting wheel designs on board to go along with the rest of the design. You're going to start out with 18-inch alloys, and you can go all the way up to 21-inch alloys if you choose that top-end calligraphy. Now, with today's XRT, these are going to be 18-inch alloys. We have a special gloss black finish on board. And of course, this one is designed to be a little bit more rugged. So the big thing about this is the fact that this is coming with all-terrain tires. Now, in terms of design elements, you'll notice we have a matte black trim that goes around the wheel arches as well as the lower elements of the vehicle. This will be on all trim levels except for the calligraphy, where it will be substituted for a gloss black. Now up here on the fender we have Santa Fe branding, and in terms of the mirrors, these would always be gloss black on the XRT. You have standard blind spot monitoring, standard heating, and if you choose the limited and above, you're going to have power folding.
Now here at the side, you are certainly going to see that boxy shape continue. As far as the overall vehicle length, it's coming in at 190.2 inches long, which is about 1.7 inches longer than the previous generation Santa Fe and about 6 inches shorter than the Hyundai Palisade for reference. Now, let's go ahead and break down some of the design elements going on here. We do have this piece, which is always blacked out. We also have raised roof rails here on the XRT model, and this piece is more than just has a function to it more than just aesthetics. So you can actually use this to easily get up here on the roof. Hyundai said they wanted to make sure this vehicle was practical as well as aesthetic. Now I do also want to talk about your safety systems because you're going to get all 4 of them as standard equipment on this all-new Santa Fe. Certainly that's a really nice feature to be included. Additionally, I do want to point out you can get some really cool features including Highway Drive Assist if you choose at least the XRT trim level, and the calligraphy will get Highway Drive Assist 2.0, which is even more advanced. Additionally, you have a driver health monitoring system as standard on all versions of this Santa Fe this year, and you'll see a little control on the steering wheel when we get to the inside. And speaking of the inside, let's go ahead and get to that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's go ahead and move on to the interior. First, of course, we'll take a look at the key fob. This is the latest Hyundai key fob where the buttons make that H shape for their emblem. You will notice that you have standard smart entry. You also have standard remote start built into the fob. But if you want digital key, you will need to choose at least the SEL, which is the second trim level. And to get inside, just reach behind the handle. That will unlock the door with the sensor. Now, let's check out this cabin. Just like with the exterior, you're probably going to be pretty shocked at this interior design. There's a lot going on and a lot I want to talk about. But first of all, we're going to start off, as always, by discussing our seats. So, what you're going to get on the base SE is cloth. As you move up to the XRT as well as the SEL, that's going to get you the H-Tex leatherette. This is a nice feeling faux leather, I have to say. It feels pretty realistic. We have perforation through the center stitching details. We even have XRT badging up there at the top. But if it's not good enough for you, you get real leather on the limited trim, and then if you go up to the very top in calligraphy, that gets you Napa leather. Now, I reached down to the controls to scoot that seat back, and I want to go ahead and tell you that it does have 8-way power adjusting seats on the SEL trim level and above. You do get some extra adjustments as you kind of move up the trim structure, but what everybody wants to talk about, though, is the calligraphy exclusive relaxation seat. So just like you may have saw in like a Hyundai Ioniq 5 electric vehicle, you can fully recline this seat. You even have a leg rest that pops up. Really, really cool stuff, and that seat is going to massage. So you've got a lot of really luxurious features available here with the Santa Fe. But let's go ahead and climb inside so I can talk about all the rest of the features. Now that I'm fully inside here, I want to go ahead and first of all just look at the overall material quality. Now previously what we showed on the channel was a calligraphy trim level, but this mid-level XRT, I have to say, is still surprisingly nice. So over here on your armrest, all of this is going to be covered in a leatherette. You're also going to have a soft touch material and leatherette across the upper part here and a faux carbon fiber through the center section. The entire upper part of this dashboard is completely covered in leatherette with a stitching detail. I'm very surprised to see that, as well as this center section. More of that trim is going to run along the center part here. And as we move down to the lower panel, this of course is going to be hard touch, but everything in here does fit together really, really well, and it feels very solid when I press on it. But let's go ahead and fire it up with a standard push button start. Now that everything's fired up, let's go ahead and get into some of the individual details. Now, first of all, we have our gauge cluster here in our dual display setup. So we now have this one kind of large display. It curves out a little bit, and that actually is focused a little bit towards me. And we'll talk about that display in just a little bit. But as far as our gauge cluster, you're going to have two different arrangements. This is your standard arrangement, and you might not be able to tell but actually this area right here, this is the only part that's the multi-function display. If you want the full digital and fully reconfigurable setup, you will need to choose the limited trim, and that will also get you Hyundai's blind spot camera system. And then finally, if you want a head-up display, you can get that, but you're going to need to choose the calligraphy. Now, let's kind of pull back here. Now, for those of you who complain that we don't get to review any Land Rovers, until Land Rover starts sending us press cars, this might be as close as you get, because we definitely have a very Land Rover inspired steering wheel going on here. So you'll notice you have the 4 dots. That is going to be kind of the like Morse code of the H badge. You've seen that in some of the recent Hyundai models. Of course, you have the kind of chunky buttons there, which look pretty cool. You do have paddle shifters behind the steering wheel as well. And in terms of the wheel itself, manual tilt and telescoping across the range. You will also get steering wheel heating as standard, starting at the limited trim level. But let's get into interior storage, because I am honestly really floored by how much storage is inside of this SUV. It is a huge change from the previous generation, as well as most things in this class. So let's start out underneath our center console here. So first of all, this does open from front and back. Mason will talk about that a little bit later. But it looks like, okay, this is just a normal console, but this thing, guys, is really deep, and it actually kind of curves and goes in underneath of this area here. Believe it or not, this is 24 donuts. As you can see, we actually ran out of donuts. That almost never happens. We only keep 2 dozen with us, and we ran out of donuts. And I'll try to dig some of these out just so you can get a sense of the depth, but look at that. See how it curves all the way around here? We filled up donuts way through here. And Hyundai does give you this tray as well as this little shelf that allows you to kind of organize this space to keep it separated. But overall, just a really, really massive storage space and great for storing donuts with our car confections donut test. Now, you have 2 big boxy cup holders there. You're going to notice that you have a nice area for your phone. This left-hand side is a wireless phone charging pad on all but the base model. The right-hand side will also be a wireless phone charging pad on the top and calligraphy. You have your 2 USB connections. As we kind of shift to the side, giant center pass-through going on over here, so you can store all types of things inside of this kind of enclosed area. I'm not done yet, though. We go over to the passenger side. We have a giant storage shelf. This has a rubber lining, so you can stick your phone up there, anything like that. If you want to enclose it, you can use this storage shelf. So that's right, we have 2 storage shelves over here on the passenger side, one of which has that nice containment there as well. So overall, like I said, I'm honestly floored with the interior storage solutions. They're even better than what you get in the Palisade. Now, one of the reasons Hyundai had so much flexibility here with the shifter, or with this console area, is because the shifter is up here as a column-mounted shifter. So just twist up for drive, twist down for reverse. When you go into reverse, you'll find a standard backup camera on board. As you move up the trim levels, you'll add parking sensors, and then you also have a 360-degree camera system on the limited and calligraphy trim levels. And then for park, just press the P located right there. Now, turning our attention from the shifter, the next place we come to is this area of buttons. This is also, very Land Rover inspired in terms of the overall design. And let's talk about the climate controls. So all but the base model is going to come with dual zone automatic climate controls. Hyundai has nicely married both physical and touch buttons, because you do have these physical knobs for the adjustment of temperatures themselves. And then you have a 6.6-inch display that's kind of embedded in here for the operation of the other functions, including our fan speed right there, and also our heated seats. So you are going to get heated seats on all but the base trim level as well, but if you want seat ventilation, you're going to need at least the limited trim level, Now, we also have full physical controls for our audio functions. Now, in terms of this, you're going to have 2 different audio systems. Upper trim levels will get a Bose sound system. We have the standard sound system, which Hyundai did not disclose exactly how many speakers there are, but let's go ahead and give it a sample, see what it sounds like. So overall sound quality, I have to say, is actually quite good. Like I said, this is the standard sound system, and it really fills up the cabin nicely. It does have good bass as well. Obviously, if you're a big audiophile, you're going to want the Bose sound system anyways, but most people are going to be just fine with this standard sound system. All right, so now let's get into the infotainment system. This is a big thing I want to talk about because it addresses a thing that a lot of people have complained about with Hyundais over the recent years, and that's the fact that we have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, now standard on all trim levels. I'm just going to hold my phone up just so you can see. I'm not plugged in. There you go. The proof is there. We now have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so everyone can be happy about that. Now, in terms of the display itself, 12.3 inches, like I said, it is kind of part of this dual display setup, and we do have a new software on board. So as I kind of cycle back here, you're going to notice that this system is much higher performance than the previous model. You can swipe here, the touch response is fantastic, the graphics look really good. XRT and above are going to get this built-in navigation system, which again is working very quick, very snappy. And overall, I'm just very happy with the improvements they made to this system. Now, let's rise above here. If you choose a limited trim, you are going to get an auto dimming mirror. This is just a manual dimming one. And if you want the digital camera system, you can get that with the calligraphy trim level. Up at the top, this XRT is the trim that comes standard with a standard size sunroof. Panoramic sunroof comes on the limited and the calligraphy trim level. And speaking of something that the calligraphy gets, you would have a special suede headliner.
All right, so let's check out the rear seat area of this all-new Santa Fe. I have really good news because we have official legroom and headroom figures from Hyundai now, so let's go ahead and dive into that. Now, we have 42.3 inches of official legroom, which is up about 0.6 of an inch over the previous generation, but what's really up over the previous generation is the headroom figure. We're sitting at about 40.6 inches of headroom, which is up 1.5 inches over the previous model. As you would expect, that boxy shape allows you to have an absolute crap ton of headroom. That's not the official Hyundai measure, but that's what Mason's going to call it, crap ton of headroom. Now, as far as our knee space, we like to measure that here at Car Confections. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", and we're looking at about 9 inches of knee space. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat, and speaking of the seat, we can slide that forward and back at very good distance. This is useful in case you have a child seat or whatever installed. You can easily reach back here, or you can slide the seat all the way back to get the maximum amount of leg room. As you can see, we do have the bench seating on this particular model. You can get captain's chairs, and not only that, on the calligraphy model, you can also get power adjusting captain's chairs here in the rear. So really, actually, that's definitely a class exclusive feature to have power adjusting second row seats in a mainstream midsize 2-row SUV. Very, very impressive feature if you want to get for that top-end model. Now, let's also talk about some of the other features. Here in the center, we're not going to have a ton. However, we do still have this function, so we can reach up here and get anything that's in their center console. So parents, watch out. Don't put anything too valuable that you don't want your kids stealing in the center console. And then down here at the bottom, we have this huge storage area that could definitely fit more than a few donuts. Additionally, we have USB ports in the seat itself, little coat hooks, and our vents are actually going to come out of here, come out of the B-pillar, and that's going to be included on all but the very base version of the Santa Fe. Now, I also want to point out heated rear seats are included, but you do have to choose at least a limited trim level to get that. The door trim is going to be nicely done. We have leatherette on the upper part, nice faux trim through the middle, leatherette in the armrest, and we do have 2 cup holders in front of that, as well as some more bottle storage down in the very bottom. But there's big news when it comes to the Santa Fe. You know how it never had a third row before? Well, here in the U.S., Hyundai is giving you a third row as standard equipment. So let's go ahead and check it out. So in order to get back here, all we have to do is push this button right here. That will allow the seat to slide up and out of the way, kind of just like the Palisade does. And then as far as this third row itself, let's dive into this. All right, we're sitting at 29.9 inches of legroom, about 37 inches of headroom. So the headroom, very, very impressive for a third row. And that's, of course, because of that boxy shape. Now, as far as the legroom, that is going to be more than the Kia Sorento. And my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. And I will also say the thigh support is better than the Kia Sorento. And the reason I can say that is because I was just in the refreshed one this morning. So I hopped directly out of that and came and did the Santa Fe. And this does have a better third row in my opinion. I also want to point out the seats are quite comfortable. You do have 2 seats back here. And then as far as features are concerned, we do have 2 cup holders on each side. We're also going to have vents. So we have vents and our own rear climate controls on all but that very base model. In addition, we also have a household style outlet and some lighting up top. So overall, as far as how this third row lands on the Car Confections third row scale, I'm going to say this is in-law approved. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the cargo area and see how practical this new Santa Fe is. Now, one thing I do want to point out, we have a standard hands-free power tailgate on every version of the Santa Fe. So even the base model is going to get that standard power tailgate. Certainly a very nice feature. Now, let's go ahead and dive into how much space we have back here. Behind the third row of seats, we're going to have 14.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity. If we reach up here and fold those seats down, we will have a figure behind the second row of 40 cubic feet. And if we fold the second row down, we're going to have a maximum of 80 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Now, you might be curious as to how that compares to some of its rivals. That's going to be pretty much bigger than all of its rivals. It's even bigger than stuff like the Kia Sorento, for instance, behind the third row, second row, and as a maximum. So definitely a very practical vehicle. I do want to point out that the third row is, of course, not going to be power folding on any version. However, I do really like that we have the buttons over here on the right side to electronically fold the second row 60-40 split. Now, you know, Car Confections, we're all about measuring things in case you are looking to haul something in your Santa Fe. So let's see how much space there is behind the driver's seat adjusted to someone who's 5'8" to the rear of the cargo area. We're sitting at 80 inches of overall length. Let's get the figure behind the second row seats. We're sitting at 41 inches behind the second row seats. But Hyundai claims this is the widest opening tailgate in the class, and that's why they said they made the taillights look the way they do. So let's see how wide it opens. Wow, we are looking at 49 inches of opening. So I do believe that makes this the widest opening tailgate in the class, so that makes loading stuff in a lot easier for those of you that are going to be hauling stuff in your Santa Fe. And then underneath of the cargo floor, we do have this little storage area, good for a first aid kit in case things get a little wild in your Santa Fe. And we do have a spare tire integrated up underneath of the bumper itself. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe. And in this test drive, we're going to be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. But first, we want to go ahead and start by doing a hard acceleration to see what this powertrain is all about.
All right, there we are, taking it up to about 60 miles per hour. Now, when it comes to this 2024 Santa Fe, as you've seen throughout this video, there's really nothing familiar about this from the previous generation. Yeah. But if there's one thing that actually is familiar, that's what's under the hood. So, going back to what we talked about at the spec dump, we do have the 2.5 turbo model, so 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. Now the power on board is 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. Those are obviously pretty good power numbers, and as we previously discussed, you know, the base engine from the previous generation, that is no longer offered. So this is actually now your standard engine, previously an upgraded powertrain, and I definitely like that. You know, this is a good amount of power, especially the torque. You will feel that push you back in the seat upon accelerating.
Yeah, now you do also have the hybrid as an option. So that's going to have, of course, a different powertrain setup. That's going to be a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder, 232 horsepower, 271 pound-feet of torque. So not bad power figures or anything along those lines. It will be less powerful than this, so do keep that in mind. If you want the most power, choose the just standard gas version. But the hybrid really is going to be pretty peppy for this model. I think you're going to be able to get up to speed perfectly fine. And we do look forward to reviewing that on the channel at some point, coming up pretty shortly, hopefully. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah, pretty spiffy for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the other aspect of the powertrain, of course, which is the transmission. Now, since we do have, two varieties, we are going to have two transmissions on board. This is the 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission that was previously paired with the 2.5 as well. With this transmission, you're going to notice that it is a dual clutch because you have such fast shifts. You'll notice that when you put your foot down, you immediately get that downshift. It's going to get you the power and really make those shifts super snappy. You can also, of course, change the drive mode as well. And in sport mode, it's going to be even quicker feeling.
Yeah, now I do want to point out, if you choose the hybrid, you get a 6-speed automatic, so you'll have a slightly different setup when it comes to that. You do also have the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive on all versions, except for this XRT, where all-wheel drive is going to be standard equipment. So I do like that Hyundai gives you that ability to have front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, even up to the calligraphy model. But now it's time for us to get our sound level reading, going 55 miles an hour, fan speeds on 1. .56.9 is our official sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour in the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, that's a pretty darn impressive sound level reading. However, I don't have to sit here and guess because I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. And on our website, we posted all of the cars that we've reviewed on the channel, and we can see how this Santa Fe compares. Now, as far as how that compares, it is going to be one of the quieter vehicles in the segment when it comes to that. We actually just got, ironically, out of the refreshed Kia Sorento, which sets it out just a little quieter than this, but I'm not surprised by that because it's a little bit boxier. So, but overall, very good sound level reading when it comes to the segment's overall scores. Now, I do also want to just go ahead and dive into your ride quality with this new Santa Fe. We've been behind the wheel. This is our first impressions, truly, because we just got behind the wheel of this vehicle, and I have to say the ride quality is a very good element of this. We have the XRT, of course, which gives you a little bit of a smaller wheel setup, but you do get the nice thick rubber, and overall, when we hit a bump, it really does a great job of soaking it up. I also want to point out that I think these seats are very, very comfortable.
Oh, yes. These are excellent. They are so soft and comfortable. And like Mason said, this is the mid-level, so you don't always expect to have such plush seats in a mid-level vehicle, but Santa Fe is certainly delivering here.
And as far as fuel economy is concerned, let's go ahead and dive into that. Since there is just the turbo engine option, we're going to be coming in at 20, 28, 23 miles a gallon combined if you choose all-wheel drive, or it's going to be 24 mpg if you choose front-wheel drive. Of course, the hybrid will get the best fuel economy of the Santa Fe range, as you would expect. We don't have official numbers just yet. Do keep that in mind. These are estimated figures, but Hyundai is saying 36 miles a gallon combined for that.
All right, so we toggled into sport mode. I want to talk just a little bit about your dynamics. Now, of course, this is not a performance SUV. The main priority here is going to be comfort, but as I kind of go around this corner here, handling, not bad at all. One of the things I really quite like is that the steering is very responsive. As soon as I turn off center, I get immediate response. It also has a little bit of heft when you put it in sport mode. Now, as we kind of go around this corner, there's going to be a little bit of body roll. That's expected, frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing bad at all. This feels like, still a pretty small SUV, even though this has grown a good deal over the previous generation. It still doesn't feel like you're driving something big and ponderous.
Yeah. And you know what time it is? It's time for us to get into our slam dunk and airball, our favorite element and our least favorite element about this all-new Santa Fe. Drew, do you want to kick us off with the slam dunk?
So the slam dunk has got to be like the boldness of the design.
Yeah.
This is, maybe a little bit more of a controversial thing, but we really like it that a brand is taking chances, because we live in a time, where every brand is putting out a crossover of every size, and many times they all look exactly the same, but Hyundai makes each one have their own character, and this certainly stands out with this cool, boxy design that looks like nothing else that it truly competes with in terms of price point.
Yeah. And as far as our airball is concerned, the one element of the design from our previous Santa Fe reviews that a lot of you guys don't like is the low-mounted taillights in the back. I will agree with you. It's a little odd looking from certain angles, but I will point out that Hyundai said the reason for the low-mounted taillights is that wide-opening trunk figure, so they wanted to kind of maximize the practicality with it. So that's just going to be one of those things. I guess Hyundai decided to make that sacrifice. You may not like the way the taillights look. I do also want to take a second to mention that the standard 2.5-liter engine that used to be offered on the Santa Fe will be offered in other markets that is not the U.S. market, as well as the plug-in hybrid. We will not be getting those initially. Hyundai did confirm that, so it's just going to be this turbo model and the hybrid setup initially. And as far as when they go on sale, the gas model is on sale currently, and the hybrid model will be coming available for sale in the upcoming months, but it's going to be gas only at launch. And as far as last little things to talk about, let's talk about the warranty. You have Hyundai Signature Warranty, which is 5-year, 60,000 miles for your basic, 10-year, 100,000 miles for your powertrain. Additionally, you're also going to get 3 years and 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance.
I do want to mention one last thing in terms of the transmission. I talked about how fast it was shifting earlier, but I do want to, kind of comment on like low speed, because a lot of people, I think, were noticing it in city driving in the previous generation. I think they've done some work here to really make this feel as much like a conventional automatic as possible at low speeds. I'm not noticing anything going on in terms of like jerking or surging or anything like that. It's very, very smooth.
And let's talk pricing. Hyundai has finally released pricing, so we don't have to sit here and hypothesize anymore. We know how much this new Santa Fe is going to cost. We're going to start at $33,950 for the base SE model, SEL $36,450, XRT $40,600, Limited $43,350, and Calligraphy is going to be $46,500. Now, do keep in mind those are the prices with front-wheel drive, unless it's the XRT, which all-wheel drive is standard. Now, as far as this model tested today, we have the $40,600 plus a few accessories and $13,995 destination, $42,535 as tested today. Now, if you're looking to buy a Hyundai Santa Fe or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because on our website, we have a tool that will connect you with local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is great for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the all-new 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're becoming a part of this Car Confections family, and we really want you to be a part of our family. We do a lot of really cool car content that I'm sure you won't want to miss out on. If you're already a part of that family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.